This is about the survival of the human race, a sign of the times, an analysis, and a commentary. Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. World leaders are demanding that pro-Russia rebels who control the eastern Ukraine crash site of Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 give immediate, unfettered access to independent investigators to determine exactly who shot down the plane. At an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council, the United States pointed blame at the separatists, saying Washington believes the jetliner carrying 298 people, including 80 children, likely was downed by an SA-11 missile, and we cannot rule out technical assistance from Russian personnel. In other words, the plane was shot down by Russia, and it was not an accident, and it was not a mistake, no matter what some may say. The people responsible for shooting down Flight 17 knew what they were doing. Both the White House and the Kremlin called for peace talks in the conflict between Ukrainian government forces and insurgents who seek closer ties to Moscow. Heavy fighting was reported less than 60 miles from the crash site, with an estimated 20 civilians reported killed. Emergency workers and local coal miners recovered bodies from grasslands and fields of sunflowers where the wreckage of the Boeing 777 fell. Some 30 officials, mostly from the Organization of Security and Cooperation in Europe, arrived at the crash site. The rebels allowed the team to perform a partial and superficial inspection while the delegation was leaving under orders from the armed insurgents. 2 Ukrainian members lingered to look at a fragment of the plane by a roadside and drew a warning shot in the air from a rebel's rifle. The dead passengers were from nearly a dozen nations, including vacationers, students, and a contingent of scientists heading to an AIDS conference in Australia. President Barack Obama, disclosing that one American was among those killed, called it a global tragedy. An Asian airliner was destroyed in European skies, filled with citizens from many countries, so there has to be a credible international investigation into what happened, he said. The entire Security Council called for a full, thorough, and independent international investigation in accordance with international civil aviation guidelines and for appropriate accountability. It stressed the need for immediate access by investigators to the crash site to determine the cause of the incident. President Obama also called for such an investigation, adding, "The eyes of the world are on eastern Ukraine, and we're going to make sure that the truth is out." The president said that his patience would be short. This should snap everybody's heads to attention and make sure that we don't have time for propaganda. We don't have time for games. We need to know exactly what happened, and everybody needs to make sure that we're holding accountable those who committed this outrage, he said. All sides in the conflict, the Ukrainian government, the pro-Russia rebels they are fighting, and the Russian government that Ukraine accuses of supporting the rebels, denied shooting down the plane. Moscow also denies backing the rebels. In other words, nobody wants to take responsibility. Again, this was no accident, and this is not a mistake. At the Security Council, U.S. Ambassador Samantha Power said the missile was likely fired from a rebel-held area near the Russian border. Power said that early Thursday, a journalist saw an SA-11 system in rebel-controlled territory, and rebels were spotted hours before the incident with an SA-11 SAM system close to the site where the plane came down. The insurgents initially claimed responsibility for shooting down a military transport plane and claimed responsibility and posted videos that are now being connected to the Malaysian Airlines crash, Power said. Insurgent leaders also boasted on social media about shooting down a plane, but later deleted those messages. Because of the technical complexity of the SA-11, it is unlikely that the rebels could effectively operate the system without assistance from knowledgeable personnel. It is very possible, and at the very least, that Russian personnel were providing technical assistance in operating the systems. So again, in other words, Russia effectively shot down an airliner with 298 innocent people on board. May the Lord rest their souls. Ukraine's Interior Ministry released a video showing a truck carrying the SA-11 missile launcher it said was used to fire on the plane, with one of its 4 missiles apparently missing. The ministry said the video was shot at dawn Friday as the truck headed back toward the Russian border. And this too is another sign of the end of times, as we know them, transition days, which is a time of extraordinary events, happenings, and changes. It really is about what kind of world are we leaving to the future generations, and that should be a very important question to ask. John chapter 16, verse 13. When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all the truth. But he will not speak on his own authority, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will declare to you the things that are to come. It really is the time to start getting rid of the weapons of mass destruction. Again, Revelation chapter 16, verse 8. And the 4th angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch humans with fire. 9. And humans were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which has power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. So, it's time for the physical and spiritual manifestation of the book of Revelation, and all these are more signs. The 4th angel has begun to sound.